Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graeme Spice, and Glen, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both a match attending and international supporters view. This episode, we're joined by Richard Stafford from Kiwi Spurs to talk about last weekend's Wolves match and to preview the Villa game this weekend. A lot to discuss. Let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.
Glen, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm pretty good. Went to proper football yesterday, so last night, South Melbourne. Proper football meaning not the egg shape, which I am going to this afternoon, but the round shape, and no VAR to get involved. And yeah, they lost 2-1, but it was a close game. But I'm well. Hoping and got everything crossed for this weekend. But how are you, mate? Are you keeping well?
Yes, very good. I think we matched you for two. It ended up being 27 here today. So
there you go.
We had a very nice day. It was.
Well, You're safe in the knowledge, Graeme, that will be our last nice weekend of the year. It's all
it might be ours as well. I'm not going to count my chickens.
Yeah, it is England, so it might be yours as well. But no, glad to hear it, mate. And of course, we've got Richard, mate. Welcome back. Always good to have you on.
Thank you, Glenn. Yeah, we've not made 27. I think per previous reference, we managed to get the 21 this week. But really nice wall-to-wall sunshine. Bit chilly in the morning, but lovely, lovely days. And I think we've got maybe another week of this, and then it'll all go to custard. Yeah,
very, very similar indeed. So, Graeme, did you watch live the Wolves game? A bit of a tough watch.
I did see most of it. I missed a bit. I was dad taxiing Josh and Eddie Grace back to their place. They've been to us for my wife's birthday.
That's right. It was your wife's birthday, wasn't
it?
But
I did catch most of it. I had a little bit on the radio in the car, and the rest I saw when I got back. A tough
watch. We got over the line.
It wasn't one for the ages, was it?
Well, a winning goal with a Polinia sliding tackle. So.
Yeah, and I think we said in the last episode that we'd take an ugly win, that the win was the most important thing. So mission accomplished from that perspective.
Yeah. Richard, your time difference, so that would have kicked off at 2 a.m. Were you up live for that, mate?
Yeah, I did an all-nighter.
Dirty stop-up.
Yeah, I watched Spurs Wolves, and, you know, As the game wore on, I actually thought we were going to score. I didn't think Wolves offered anything, and everything that went forward was mostly our side. I thought our defence was pretty reasonable. Danso, I think, is a Rocky. He's a bit like a tanker. His turning circle takes about a week.
Old-fashioned centre-half.
He is, yeah. And if you have a look at those centre-halves from the 70s and 80s, he's reminiscent of that. He's not a fast guy at all, and he's only got a right foot. Yeah, he puts his body on the line, and there's a lot to be said for that. I actually thought João Palhinha's got the right attitude, and, you know, maybe Zerbi in his press conference, which I know we'll come on to, is very pleased with his kind of rallying call. But after the win, I double backed on to BBC to watch Saints against Man City.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and how good was Southampton?
Well, coming from Southampton, I had my brother on a WhatsApp call on one of my other screens, and I thought Saints played excellently well. And if we go down to the Championship, right, and this is something Ben said last week, you know, when a big side goes down into the second division, he was referencing the Bundesliga 2 or whatever it's called, for teams like Schalke and Hamburg. There's no God-given right that a team of that size will automatically come up one season or 2 seasons.
No, I think you said Hamburg were down for like 10 seasons or something.
Correct. Yeah. And so the reference is we go down, and let's say Saints stay down. You have a look at the quality of the football that they played, and Ipswich have played this year. I know Ipswich look like they're coming up, but there are other teams like Bristol City. I watched Bristol City at the beginning of this season, and they played magic football. I mean, everything went to custard for them. But I thought Southampton did wonderfully well against Man City, and I thought Man City kind of were running out of ideas even.
In isolation, it's a semi-final, right? And you can look at it and say Southampton were up for it. But let's not discredit. They'd beaten Arsenal in the other round. They're a good side. And to your point, overall, the Championship, and Graeme, I'll be keen to get your view on this. We've talked a bit about this in the last episodes. It's a really competitive league. You can be a Southampton who under Will Steele were having a torrid time, and then they just went on a bit of a tear. And we covered this.
They were relegation positions, weren't they?
And if you can create a bit of form, you can punctuate. And obviously the playoffs are going to be expanded, so that makes it more difficult. But it is, isn't it, Graeme? It's a really competitive league, and it's a good teams in there.
And it's not just the parachute payment teams either. That's the scary thing, right? In fact, if anything, some of the parachute payment teams have struggled.
Yeah.
But then like Coventry have gone up at a canter almost, haven't they? They were up in April and they look really strong as well. So there's a lot of strong teams there. I think that there's also there's teams that are on the way up that with heavy outside investment, like Birmingham and Wrexham, for example. So there's no lack of investment in teams down there. I think someone told me who was it? Wrexham spent like 30 million or something.
Yeah. I think what comes through in that league is footballing prowess, right? So you can only spend a certain amount, and compared with what an annual spend or a summer spend is in the Premier League, it's minute. Even 30 million, it's big for the Championship. It's big for Wrexham.
It's an average Premier League player, isn't it?
Very. It's a single, it could well be a single Premier League player. But so what happens is the footballing prowess takes over in the Championship. And to go back to your point, Glen, about the teams that don't necessarily rise to the top, that have parachute payments. You have a look at Millwall, for example. Millwall could go up. And they're the ugliest team ever. I don't mean that with any disrespect to Millwall fans or Millwall as a club. But I saw them play against Saints in January, and they played real ugly football.
In the flesh, were you at the game? Was that?
I was at the game, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really ugly. Saints just couldn't get going. And so what they did was they spoiled the game, but when they play at home, they expand and they play decent football. And they've got half dozen players who can. They've got a decent defence and they've got a decent goalkeeper. And, should we go down, we're going to have to learn how to play that style of football.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, for all the right reasons, we need to stay up.
Yeah.
I don't think we're particularly good at playing teams who play ugly.
Well, we've seen that. And honestly, that's not a new thing with Tottenham, right? We've seen that when we play in the FA Cup and we play these so-called lesser teams. We really struggle. What comes to mind is who was the team we played non-league and we drew? Was it 0-0? Tamworth, yeah. I mean, there's an example right there. And we had Pompey in the FA Cup not so long ago, and we really struggled to get over the line against them.
I was at that game in London, and Harry Kane scored, and I'll tell you what, Pompey could have gone ahead with 2 strikes within about 10 minutes after that.
Yeah.
And, you're right, we just don't seem to do very well. But that's our club. That's our club, right? So,
and the worst thing is that every single team in that league will look at us like a cup final.
They're going to raise it.
Yeah.
But good sides put to bed. I can remember us playing Port Vale or Notts County or Newport County in the League Cup a few years ago, and we were exactly the same. But a good side will put those teams to bed to the sword, right? Poorer teams won't know how to play that style of football. What we need as Tottenham is the confidence to win games and know that we can win games, whatever style of football we're up against, right?
Yeah.
And that would make me feel really heartened and warm inside that we actually knew how to do that.
It's interesting as well, though, isn't it? Because even when we were at our best under Pochettino, we still struggled in the cup competitions against lower league teams.
Yeah.
So even when we were steamrolling Premier League teams and we had the best goal scored, the best defence in the Premier League, we still struggled to get out, lower league teams over the line in cup competitions.
I'll tell you something else that's quite noticeable, and that is the time wasting from injuries by the opposition side. So there's been a lot made about goalkeepers going down in the 95th minute or something like that. But Crystal Palace, they broke up the game. They got bookings. They went down injured. Their substitutes took forever. The goalkeepers, went on a wild goose chase to find the ball. And everything was broken up. And our ability to fight back, I think we were down at the time, or we might have been just up or whatever. But our ability to actually manage the game the way we wanted to play was broken up completely by the opposition. Now, we've got to be clever. We've got to be cleverer than just sitting back and letting that happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a coach. But I think from a Spurs point of view, teams who manage to play the game, inverted commas, and the referees allow them to get away with that to our detriment, we've got to be better than just sitting back and letting it happen.
It's actually a really good point. I've seen I'll share it with you guys at some point, but there was a 9-minute monologue, and I only got about 3 minutes into it, of every decision by referees that's gone against Spurs this season. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say we're down where we are because of that, but it hasn't helped because we've been shit when that's happened. And it's almost like, okay, that's happening, those have gone against us, but find a way. And I don't think we've done that enough. But I do think on Sunday, or Saturday, I guess as it was, against Wolves, we did find a way, ugly as. And of course, but then we found a way, we got the 3 points, but then we've got Xavi and Solanke, both probably season-ending injuries. Again, Graeme, Xavi with the medical team, best of my knowledge, being asked to hop or run or on a ACL. I mean,
jumping up and down on the sideline and running up and down the side, it was...
and that's
and
not new behaviour.
Came back on.
Yeah.
Oh, run it off.
Yeah, imagine 10 star jumps and a magic sponge.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
On an individual level, I feel really sorry for Xavi Simons. I mean, young player,
Misses the
starting
World
to
Cup,
find his
of course,
feet.
yeah.
World Cup. Ironically, without them both on the pitch, we scored. So read into that what you will. And maybe that's just football gods for us for a change. And then, I don't know, broadly, I thought the performance, we created a fair bit, but then we were our own worst enemies at time as well. With Porro, I thought was appalling. I just don't like that player. I think he gives the ball away way too much. But then Richard, a player that you have had to eat a little bit of humble pie, Kinski, you could argue got us those 3 points. And you had concerns and very valid worries that he would never play again after the Madrid.
Yeah, going back to the last time I was on, I said after the Atleti game, I didn't think Kinski was going to play for us again. But it was wrong to throw him into a quarter-final, and he hadn't played all season, or mostly all season. It was unfair, but I didn't think he would play again, and I'm quite happy to take that back and say I think he should probably stay and go until the end of the season. Vicario has an error in him every game. He either shanks the ball or his kicking's appalling. His shot stopping is pretty good, his reactions are pretty good, but most goalkeepers are these days. Horrible to say, that's nothing special. And he's got an error which... it often compromises one of our other players. He plays a ball to someone who's facing the wrong way, or we've got someone running onto him. So I'm quite happy that Kinski, who's got that kind of coolness about him, and his delivery is much better, and his passing is much better, should stay in goal to the end of the season. So I'll eat the humble pie. I'm more than happy.
Vicario's not available for the game on Sunday anyway, so that helps. It's not a decision that has to be made. But I agree. I don't think... And also, given the news in the press that it sounds like he has a deal agreed to go to Inter in the close season, I think we give Kinski the games, because if he could end up... If we go down, he'll probably be our number one keeper, because I don't think we'll go out and buy someone else if that's the case. We'll probably have him with Austin as a backup.
You made a good point offline as well, Richard, around Vicario's errors. It spreads like COVID-19 did in 2020, right, throughout the back four, the rest of the team. Once he makes an error, they're looking over their shoulder. And Porro, I think I've seen it play out with Porro, and then he just missed passes and it's gone out of play. It's a knock-on effect. If you've got a keeper behind the back four who is commanding, who is not making errors, it's less likely that the others are going to make errors in terms of...
Yeah, we're in a position where during the game and where we are in the season with the results we need confidence, we need fight, we need positivity, we need to go front foot football, right? We can't afford to play this kind of sideways and backwards stuff, because that invites teams onto us and invites us to make mistakes, right? Because we're actually giving possession to people who aren't naturally gifted with a ball, right? And so when Vicario does something silly, it seems the knock-on effect firstly hits our back four. Say Porro often overhits a ball. He'll try and pass something down the wing and it'll go out of play, or go out of play in the goal at the other end. Someone will try the Romero 60-yard diagonal ball and it'll go to to a midfielder's feet, in the centre circle or something like that. So I don't like his distribution. He's been poor ever since he joined the club. Don't get me wrong, from a shot-stopping point of view, he's excellent, and he's probably saved X number of points. But on the converse side of that, he's probably cost us just as many. So from a confidence-building point of view, in the last 4 games, you want every chance of the team playing well, playing positive, and you don't need that. Right. Early, if you imagine 2 minutes into the next game against Villa, if he was fit, which he isn't, and he made a real hoolie of something, we'd be on the back foot from, for the next 88 minutes.
It creates panic, yeah. And heads go down, they don't go up. There's not many in the team over the last months when those mistakes happen that you look at any one player that starts to rally us or really get us going. I have seen a bit of a change in that. And Graeme and Richard, but Graeme first, I'd like to get your view on... I think a player that's really helped with a bit of solidifying, a bit of impassion is Bentancur. I really have been impressed with him, and he seems to be bang up for it.
Yeah, I was quite surprised at how strong he came back, to be honest.
Yeah.
Given that he'd been out for quite a while as well, hadn't he? Months. But his first came back, I thought he was probably one of the better players on the pitch.
Yeah.
And again, he played really well in the last match. And again, I think it depends on who's used him and how they've used him, because he was one of those frustrating sideways players, short passing sideways players, but under Frank. But I don't see that. I always felt that before he had much better range of passing and he looked a lot stronger. So, and we're seeing that again. I think it's kind of reminiscent of the season when we signed him, when I thought he was a really good box to box player.
Yeah.
And he's probably everything that Gallagher wishes he was at the moment. I feel like, if you want a blueprint for an 8, I don't think Gallagher's really contributed very much at all since January.
I think
no assists, no goals.
No. And the funny thing is, I think we mentioned this offline yesterday. The header that Bentancur had against Wolves. I know the offside flag went up, but that was for the subsequent positioning of our player. If that had gone in, that was an excellent header, and he is a good header of the ball. You have a look at him in defence.
Yeah, he's got that in his locker.
His head in. Go back to the Bentancur early days. He got better and better and better, and I think we were all kind of wowed by the fact that he could break up an attack and also distribute the ball forward quite well. And then he had that terrible injury against Chelsea. It was, not Chelsea, Aston Villa, wasn't it? It was
Johnny Cash. That's a
was it Matty Cash special? Was it?
Yeah, Matty Cash.
Honestly, that guy, unbelievable. Our medical team have had more business from him than anyone else.
But Matty Cash has got previous with Bale as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And
right.
Kane.
Who's the guy? Who was the Wolves right back?
Doherty,
yeah. Doherty, he put him out. I think he'd done him twice, actually.
Yeah.
And of course, who have we got on Monday or Sunday?
Indeed. Well, great segue.
Yeah. And you've got to feel that Bentancur will be a first choice in the midfield again. What I like about these two performances, what I was going to say is when he got injured the first time and he came back, he was poor. This time it feels like they've given him enough rest and they've given him enough strength and enough positivity to actually play his game. And in the 2 games we've seen, he's done excellently well. I think he's going to be really important for 2 reasons. One, because he's got a cool head, but he's nearly as bad as Romero, right? He's South American.
South American, yeah, as I say, yeah.
He doesn't want a good old hack. But he's experienced, and I think we need that experience in the midfield. And secondly, his distribution of the ball is generally quite good. So I think he's really important, and I would make him first choice in the midfield from this point forward.
I'd make him captain if it was up to me. I think he's offered more in the last couple of games as far as leadership, giving a shit, being up for it, than Romero has all season. And also he's not playing. And Van der Ven, I think Van der Ven is...
He's always
Van der Ven, for me, he's always been half in, half out. I think he'd probably sign for Man United in the summer, would be my suspicion. And fine, Romero, Van der Ven, we could probably do a whole new episode on it in terms of players that I would not give a shit if they went. I just don't. I don't care. Go. Let's go. You got us in this position. Go.
You know, when supporters come out in defence of that type of statement, right, you've got to say, why does that statement ring true for yourself and me, and perhaps Graeme? I don't want to talk on behalf of everybody, but, why does that ring true? And why do you think, or why does another person think Van der Ven should be the shining light of the team? We build the whole squad around him. And the reality is, he's not that good a bloody defender.
He's just quick. He's very quick.
Well, not so. If you don't mind, if we just take the word "just" out, he is quick.
He is quick,
and he's got other attributes, but they don't shine, and they don't. They're not every game.
To offer a counter argument to my own argument, I guess the other thing to consider: Holland play him as a left back.
Yes,
and I've never really seen him play as a fullback for Spurs, and maybe that would be.
He's done it once.
Yeah, maybe that would be his better position for us. I don't know. But for me, his performances haven't been good enough. And he looks to I don't know if you know, if we went 1-0 down or if we're not playing well enough, he's one of the culpable ones on looking to the floor, looking just despondent and sad. There's no G up. There's no come on, lads. And that for me is not captain material.
And I think that the spat with him and Jed Spence with Thomas Frank said a lot, I think.
Well, at the end of the game, I don't know whether you saw, the Wolves game, that is, I don't know whether you saw Mickey Van der Ven run over to the Spurs fans and give them fist pumps and come-ons and all that sort of thing. It feels a little bit hollow based on what you said, because I absolutely agree with you. He's head down. I don't say he looks to blame other people, but he's often the person who should have sorted the problem out, whatever was caused. He obviously, and so if it feels a bit hollow and he goes, then good riddance. Thank you very much for your time, but we now need to move on.
And I guess we have to be careful to believe everything that we read in the press as well, right? So there's a lot of stories about everyone angling for it to leave, and that might all just be press speculation, or it might just be made up. But my experience, I think it's usually the agents angling, and they want to let everyone know that they're going to be available. Yeah, well, and that's why those stories get leaked.
They can have him, right? So his agent's very vocal.
The difference is that most agents, you don't. Every now and again they pipe up. Every now and again he pipes down. It's like he has not stopped going on about how he should have gone to a bigger club and a better club, and everyone offered more money and this and that. And I'm like, well,
here's the thing, Glen and Graeme, to the point you're talking. I listened to some of the ex-footballers like Roy Keane and Gary Neville, for that matter. He's a bit of a prat, but he sometimes says something that's quite interesting. And when they're asked about who the best manager was that they played under, Roy Keane dismisses Ferguson because he's got a bit of a beef, but he will always say Brian Clough.
Yeah.
Now, why isn't that any other manager other than Ferguson, right? And it's because the manager has personality. They learn from the manager. They probably won under the manager. They learn personal attributes as well as physical attributes, footballing attributes from there. And I just wonder whether Zerbi has got that skill set and has that personality that might turn round a Van der Ven, right, and say, well, if we do stay up, then that's the big if. If we do stay up, you will learn things under me, and therefore you're not going to be a bit player at Man United, which he did.
Yeah, it's quite possible. It's quite possible. And look, looking ahead to Villa, which we'll go around the houses a little bit later on predictions, but to have something in between Wolves and Villa is... We're now relying on other results. Can't get away from that. So we've got West Ham to consider. I firmly believe, and I've said this in anyone that wants to listen, and it's not fact, it's my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. I think and believe that there will be at least one more big twist and maybe two twists in this relegation battle. And I think this weekend could be one. I think you've got West Ham going to Brentford. Brentford are still going for European football and they're very good at home. And you've got Nottingham Forest going away to Chelsea on a Monday with a Europa League second leg semi-final on a Thursday, which I think is just outrageous by the FA that they even allow this to happen. I just think the support of the clubs, it's just ridiculous to me, but I'll take it. So I just wonder if we see a much changed Forest, knowing that they've got very little recovery time. And then we also see a West Ham team maybe drop some points away to Brentford. And then it's on us to take advantage of that. I don't think this is done and dusted. And I don't think if Chelsea were to beat Forest, West Ham were to drop points against Brentford and we were to win, all of a sudden the gap's 2 points to Forest. I don't think they're out of this. So I'd be keen to get your guys in. I'm still saying on Michael Dawson. Michael Dawson was claiming that this isn't just between West Ham and Spurs. He firmly believes Forest are in it still. But Graeme, maybe you first. Am I clutching at straws here? Because I think that's all I've got. What's your take?
I don't think so. I think my only concern is that we have had a draw against Brighton and we've had a win against Wolves, who are already relegated. So I think it's important to bear that in mind. They are statistically the worst team in the league at the moment, and we struggle to get a 1-0 win against them. So that's playing some of the best football that we've been playing all season. Which, to give you a kind of watermark for where we're at, I think that there's absolutely every chance we could win every single game that we've got left,
and still go down. We should add,
and still go down, but we could still. But I think it's possible we could win every game. But I don't think we will. And I think but I also don't think that West Ham will win every game that they've got left either. So I think it's going to go all the way to the last game.
Yeah.
No one's going to be safe with a game to go, are they? There will be at least two teams still in it right the way up to the final game of the season, I think.
I have a beer on a Friday with a bunch of tradies I've been doing for about 18 years, and I've converted 2 or 3 of them into Spurs fans.
Poor bastards.
Yeah,
what have we done to them? They were trying to enjoy their after-work drink, Richard, and now you've done that to them.
They make me buy the first round.
As they should.
So one of the guys is from Hounslow, here in Auckland. Well, not Hounslow in Auckland, but he's from Hounslow. He lives in Auckland. And he's a big Brentford fan. And he reckons Brentford will do West Ham. Along the same lines as yourself. You know, they're fighting for Europe. They're a good side. And actually, some of their players are not world class, but they are pretty good. Damsgaard is playing very, very well for them, apparently. This
good player.
Up front is a bit of a beast. And Nathan Collins is doing the thing in the back four, which is great. I do think that both sides, West Ham and Notts Forest, have got a bit of a hiccup to come, so I agree with you. I don't think Notts Forest are that good. I do think the number of games that they're playing is going to come back and haunt them a little bit. I know that they had 5 academy players or 5 players that only played 1 game for the Premiership side on the Nottingham Forest bench against Aston Villa in the
interesting,
UEFA Cup. So they're struggling a little bit, and even though we've got a Kiwi up front for Forest, he's coming back from a long-term injury and he's a bit slow. I thought I was.
He scored the goal, didn't he?
Scored his penalty, yeah.
And it was a good penalty. Don't get me wrong; it's a fantastically taken penalty, but he's
been out of form, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a bit of a donkey.
But then is it a question of they're very much doing what we did last season in that focus on the Europa League and keeping Chris Wood wrapped up in cotton wool for that second leg?
Quite possibly. You know, when they get going, Forest are a good side to watch. Morgan Gibbs-White is, and who's the other guy with the double-barrelled name? Anyway. They can play really well. They've got that guy Murillo in the back four, the Brazilian guy who looks like something out of the Dick Dastardly and Muttley sort of like brigade. And West Ham, they just blow hot and cold. I think they rely so much on 2 players, Summerfield and Bowen, to get them out of trouble. And there's a mistake, a bit like Vicario, there's a mistake in that back four and the goalkeeper every game.
They're down there with us for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But equally, their form this calendar year is significantly better than ours. So that they have.
How ironic would it be that
Nuno puts us down?
Yeah. Well. And then there's also the other twist of irony to consider here. That's this weekend's set of fixtures. And then we'll get into, obviously, on another episode, but I'll cover it very briefly now. They still have to play Arsenal. Now, I actually think Arsenal win every game. Whether they win the league remains to be seen. City seem to have the nous to do so. But the point is, I think Arsenal will win every game. Your Arsenal mate, Richard, made a quip to you that they're going to do the treble in winning the Champions League, the league, and Tottenham getting relegated, so that doesn't happen. But the irony being, they could be the team that keeps us up. because they have to beat West Ham, and that's a really good outcome for us. You would think they have to beat West Ham, unless there's a complete drop from City and Arsenal win the league by then, which I don't think can happen. Or they could go to West Ham needing the 3 points to win the league. You know, it could look like that. So there's a lot riding on that fixture. So I think the next 2 rounds of fixtures are pivotal, but then it all comes back to us, doesn't it? We've had these scenarios with Tottenham Hotspur for years. Oh, they just need to do this to do this, or they just need to do this to do this, and we never fucking seem to do it.
No, we've had so many chances to either rise into the top 4, or even a few seasons ago to be top of the league at a convenient time of the year, like Easter, and we don't take those opportunities. Right? We seem to be the team that does the complete opposite to what we need to do.
Yeah.
And it's not funny. I think from the West Ham point of view, Nuno has had the ability to raise the tempo. When they play fast football, West Ham look quite good. But a bit like us, when they go backwards, when they've got a defensive glass, right? So they crack, and when they crack, the whole team plays poorly. So you're right, Graeme. They're down there for a reason, and let's hope that reason is, stays for the next 4 games.
Yeah, and again, I view it as a mild positive, not for the fans that have got to travel to Birmingham at 7 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday night, which is just a weird kickoff time. But from our perspective, I put it as a positive that we do play once West Ham have done their game, and then we know what we got to do, right? And then it's over to us. And then we find out if West Ham do lose and a win takes us a point out of the relegation, point clearer, then that could be the turning point for us. But it's on us to do that. We've got to go and win. Graeme, will you be watching the game, mate? It's a bit of a tricky kickoff for you.
Should be, yes. 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening is not a good kick-off time. I don't agree with some
6 a.m. for Richard, 4 a.m. for me.
These expanded sort of kick-off times, and I know, as I said, I think it's better for you than it is for me in this particular instance. But I'll probably be back for it, but I might miss the beginning. But again, I'll watch most of it, if not all of it.
The other thing that you said there, Glenn, which is quite interesting, is Arsenal got to win all their games.
Yeah.
I actually think this time of the season, when your team is in the relegation area, you shouldn't be worrying about any other team in the division, right? We just focus very much on our own team, because for about 6 or 7 games, we've been at the behest of what other teams around us have been doing, and I hate that situation. I really do hate the situation where we depend on another team, possibly like we were pontificating just a minute ago about what do you think we'll do with this game and that game. I hate the thought that we put up a reasoned argument and then we could be 100% wrong. Yeah. And we put all our hopes on a team that do the complete fucking opposite of what we want them to do.
Yeah, when I said that I think it might go down to the last game, I would rather it was in our hands. If we go into the last game, but we require West Ham to lose and us to win, I want, if we go into the last game and all we need to do is win or draw, or either of those scenarios would be okay, because at least it's it's up to us then, but not to be behind going into the last game. That would be bad. I don't like that either. It
probably is going to the last weekend, which is a 1 a.m. kickoff for me on a Monday morning and 3 a.m. for Richard. So I'll be, I guess, watching live if it does go to the last game and watching through my fingers. Do you think, so just going back to the game for Villa, that we've got away to Villa, the team that he's going to pick, he's obviously without Solanke, going to be without Xavi Simons. Do you think he uses Bergvall in a number 10, or do you think Tell comes in? I mean, what do you think he does? Moani, Richie? I mean, and I'm hearing that Mason Mellier's been training with the first team. Does he get a spot on the bench? I mean, it's interesting.
Someone has to.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's where we are, aren't we? It has to be somebody. So I think
there's a number of with the under 21s. There's a number of them that are out on loan that might have got quite a lot of football this season if they hadn't have gone.
Mikey Moore comes to mind.
Yeah, Mikey Moore definitely, and then Ash Phillips, even Donnelly as well.
Donnelly, Vuskovic, if we could have called it.
Yeah, there's a low bunch of them that probably would have played 30 games this season if they'd have hung around. Even Scarlett probably would have got game time. I maybe he will. I think Bergvall will play a part.
He brings energy, doesn't he? He brings energy.
Yeah.
Like, he was the one that dispossessed the Brighton player for Xavi's goal. That was just pure energy and hard work.
My preference would be to start with Tell.
Yeah, he's been good when he's come on.
Because, yeah, absolutely. And he has that fighting spirit about him, the kind of raising of the hands to the crowd. I think he brings that energy, and I think if, as a team, Spurs play with energy to start with, we were able to maintain that for like 60 minutes before a different style of football kicks in, and obviously the substitutions. So I would start with Tell. When he first came, there was an awful lot of, when he was on loan, there was an awful lot of spiel about whether his best position was wide left or playing down the middle. So I would play him slightly off to the left. I know, Glenn, you mentioned some time before about Richarlison playing wider.
Who, by the way, should be called the same name as you, Richard, because he's no way Brazilian, that player. But back over to you.
Or else you could call me Richarlison, whichever you like.
Yeah.
But there's no similarity between our football, put it that way. But I would play Tell to start with. I would play Bergvall just behind in that kind of roaming number 10 position, because I think he's probably the next best creative player that we have. And it isn't lost on most Spurs fans just what a good job he did when he came on against Brighton. He ran around like not a headless chicken, but he put himself around a bit. And of course, he was the one that got the ball to Xavi for the wonderful second goal that we scored. So I think also he'll stick with Kolo Muani up front. Zerbi likes him for some reason, and the quotes earlier on in the week about having to take him out for breakfast, lunch and dinner suggests that actually having a whole week with his squad, Zerbi can do something with some of these players.
Yes, it's not. It's not just that one player, is it, Richard? It's having that time between games where he's got a full 7 days or more with them.
So I think he'll probably play Tell, Bergvall, Kolo Muani. Whether he would play Richarlison as well away from home, I don't know. Maybe as a substitute. But hey, there you go.
It's interesting, right? Sorry, Graeme, over to you. You go first.
I was going to say, I have a feeling he might play 4-3-3 and play like Richarlison, Muani and Tell.
Yeah.
And then a 3-man midfield with any three from whoever's left.
Bentancur, Gallagher, Basuma.
Probably. I think realistically he'd probably start with that through. I think he's consistently played his experienced players, hasn't he?
And runners. Like Gallagher, if
but
he gives you nothing
like,
else,
for whatever you think of Basuma, he's quite hard to get the ball off of. He's quite press resistant. So for keeping the ball is going to be really important.
I've said this on other episodes. I don't need Basuma to be a world beater or even to be here next season if we stay up. Just play 4 good games, mate, and then you can 100%.
Go. I think Zerbi knows how to press Basuma's buttons. And
I hope so.
Basuma's probably off in the summer. It will be, give me these last 5 games, last 4 games, last 3 games. Give me that. And I'll send you off with, bells and whistles. Yeah. But the other thing that the other person we haven't mentioned yet is why has there been a demise in the demand to play Gray?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I don't think that player's done anything wrong. I think he's got the head of a 28-year-old on his shoulders in how he plays. He's played a lot of football across the 2 seasons by virtue of having to. Does it lead into Zerbi just wants a experienced midfield? Does he have concerns about that? I don't know, but I do feel.
Yeah, it's funny because earlier in the week when Zerbi said we need fight, one of the things that came to mind was, well, maybe the fight is not quite the same for the experienced players as it is for the youngsters, and that the youngsters, if they picked to play in the first starting 11, if they do their job and they do their job well, then they're showing fight by default, right? And I think Gray has got that in him. I think Bergvall's got it in.
Yeah.
And I think Tell's got it. So I think from the youngsters' point of view, he shouldn't be afraid to play them.
Well, and Gray is one of the few players across the whole squad that will want the ball in really difficult areas, and he'll show for the ball in difficult areas. And he's a kid, right? He's one of the few that will come to the edge of our box and say, give me the ball, give me the ball. It's a weird one. It's a bit of a head scratcher because it tells me, like I said, I think Zerbi at the moment is looking experienced and wanting runners in the team. But you get Gray on the football and he really can do special things. I mean, I was banging the drum a short few months ago, even though we couldn't buy a bloody win. I thought he was an outside bet for the World Cup squad with England in terms of how he was playing.
I think also he's probably looking at the opposition as well. You know,
yeah.
Bring us back to who we're playing. Villa are pretty good. I mean, you have a look at the size of Onana. You have a look at the size of, well, not McGinn. McGinn's not that big, but
they're big. They're good side. They play good football.
Morgan, he's a big lad, and you know
even Cash is quite he's a big guy for a fullback as well, isn't he?
Yeah, they're quite a large side. Thankfully, what's his name up front is Ollie Watkins is playing with like a donkey in 3 legs. He scores 1 goal and then he goes quiet for 3 or 4. So I'm hoping he's in one of those spells.
He was awful apparently on Thursday.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not that he watches or listens because he's a Villa fan, but shout out to my good friend, another Graeme. He's a Villa fan, and I was messaging with him knowing that we've got them this weekend. They just played the semi-final. His view was quite alternative. He said, I think Emre will go full strength, and we've been shit of late, so you'll probably beat us anyway, was his view. He doesn't think that Emre's going to rest a load. He said it's still not mathematically done for us to be Champions League. So it'll be interesting to see what team Emre picks with the second leg in mind or not. Maybe he just picks full strength and we've got to deal with it.
I was looking at a prediction for the team, and they think there's a chance that Tammy Abraham might start up front because he's been poor. But apart from that, it's a pretty strong team. Sancho on the left.
The only other the one big wrinkle in this, and it's a bit out of left field because the transfer window's closed, but what about the new signing we've got in Peppa Pig? I mean, big news.
To bring home the bacon.
Yeah, could our club be any more tone deaf?
It's just the timing, isn't it? It's like
yeah.
I guess it's probably been pre-organised, but
you mean
so?
Like you say, the timing's wrong, the subject matter's wrong, right? When you want to, I'm going to use a daft phrase here, but when you want to pep up people,
right, don't use Peppa Pig.
You don't bring out Peppa Pig.
Yeah,
for God's sake, you know.
It's just bizarre. But
look, what you want to be doing is pulling out reels of Jimmy Greaves scoring a goal or Glenn Hoddle. How about this then? I heard, I'm sure you guys have as well, that Glenn Hoddle and combined with Ozzy Ardiles offered to be the interim managers during the period where we had
Tudor.
Yeah.
Olga, bless him. And they said no, and I thought it was quite interesting.
I said it when it was that period of when Frank was looking like it was the end, and then it was the end, and then we were kind of that small window of what's going on, who we're getting. I said it from the very beginning, like you need a Tottenham man in there in some way, shape, or form, whether that was the manager or not. I still believe we do. Like, I think De Zerbi, which I'd like to get to as a closing point maybe before we do predictions, I still believe that De Zerbi, the coaching staff, the feel around it, I think there's still a place at some point, whether we go down or not or stay up, a Michael Dawson or a Jermaine Defoe, who's, by the way, a huge credit to Jermaine Defoe taking the job at Woking, which isn't far from where we're from, Graeme. Non-league football, and he wants to just go and earn his stripes. Credit to the lad. Or lad, can I say that? He's older than me. But a young coach, right? But for me, it needs and requires, even if it was a Chrissy Houghton or a Glenn Hoddle. I think, right now, if you'd have said to me, you want Johan Lange or you want Glenn Hoddle as your director of football, it's a no-brainer. Get Glenn Hoddle in there involved in some way, shape or form. So, yeah, it's a head scratcher.
But Lange or a coat hanger wouldn't be a difficult discussion even.
Yeah. But go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, I was going to go back to something that Ben McFadden said last week, right? And he was comparing this guy Kill, that apparently we're talking to about the director of football role, pairing up with Johan Lange, and the fact that the culture of a German with a Danish person, right, should work because they're both kind of Germanic races. And I'm thinking, no, you want the complete bloody opposite.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump around a little bit, but going back to Southampton, they got this Tonder Eckhart who's German, and he's come out of complete nowhere. He was coaching the under-21s, and suddenly he's taken over, and he seems to be wonderful. And I know that Ben made a really good point about Daniel Farke having a complete top-to-bottom German coaching side when he was at Norwich.
Yeah.
And so go back to your point, Ben, sorry, there's a bit of method of my madness here, that Zerbi has only appointed 2 of his coaching staff to come with him, and typically there will be 6. So I think there are openings to bring in a Dawson or a Defoe or even a Robbie Keane as number 2. And I don't know whether
I think the likely candidate is still Sandro, because he's played with him before.
Yes. Yeah. He does like him as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Does seem to. I like Sandro. I mean,
he's a great guy.
And doubles up as a martial art expert, so maybe he could kick a few
guitarist.
heads. Yeah, and guitarist, yeah. Bit like
that smile. He's always got that permanent smile on him.
Yeah. He ran, always, when he played, he ran like a horse. I always thought he ran like a horse. And that goal he scored... Yeah, he galloped, didn't he? And that goal he scored against Man United, remember that? It was just like top stanchion, bang. He didn't score many, but when he did, they were bangers.
Yeah.
No, maybe. But look,
I agree with what you said, Richard, as well. That the two he brought 2 in mostly because I think he felt this wasn't a time for a full Zerbi coaching masterclass where you break everything down to build it back up. There just wasn't the time and the number of games left to do that.
Going to do more harm than good.
He accepted a kind of temporary arrangement with enough people around him to at least make some impact. And I think in the summer we'll see a significant change.
And I haven't seen or heard it, but I've read some snippets from it. Richard, I think you watched it, or Graeme, maybe one of, or both of you. But De Zerbi's press conference seems to be the takeaway I got from what I've read is, can we please fucking stop with the poor me, and let's just get to work. Is that basically the context?
Yeah, he summed it up quite nicely. He was basically saying that we can't talk about the injuries because the players that we've got available should be good enough to win matches, and they are good enough to win matches. They just need to believe it. And I think most of his work has been psychological, not. He said that this is a head problem, not a. It's not a tactics problem.
Yeah, I think it's like a wave, right? The wave of social media kind of draws in people who don't have the same opinion, but when you say it often enough, they agree with you, right? And what he's saying is we should fight, and you should stop looking for excuses as to why we would go down. You've got to look for the positives and what we're going to do, and we can win all of our 4 games, and that's the way you should look at it. We will win. We start the game thinking that we're going to get 3 points. And therefore, that will give the players the positivity to go out and deliver. Of course, 2 things could be polar opposites, of course.
Yeah, great.
And I have to say that he went on a bit of a diatribe for a while, but he wasn't like in some previous managers have lost it with the press, or with the club or with whatever. They I mean, Ange could be a bit prickly, couldn't he, in a number of press conferences? And sometimes I think he was right in what he was saying, but maybe timing and picking your battles, he would literally start a fight over everything, and that probably wasn't healthy. But I felt like this was and also he wasn't rude to any of the press. I didn't think. I think he was honest, and they all seemed to take it okay because unfortunately, that kind of bad news stuff sells papers and sells clicks, doesn't it? That's the issue. That's what they get. That's what gets them, keeps them in a job.
Andrew's command of English is a little bit better than De Zerbi's, right? Quite a lot better. But he also had something to go for when, certainly from the middle of February or something, when it looked like the Europa Cup might be on a target. Everything else kind of slid down over here, and you could defend that because we had a big enough gap between 18th and 17th, right? So if the press wanted to be prickly, he could be prickly back because he had something to defend, which was the Europa Cup. Frank didn't have that, and he didn't have the skill sets to make the press look that big, and so therefore had to soak up every question. I think Zerbi is far more slick, and he can hide a little bit behind his English because...
Sometimes I do wonder, because I'm pretty sure his English is pretty good. So that when he's got the translator out there, I think that's more just to give him a bit of time.
Poch used to do the same. Poch was very similar in terms of to get out of prickly, but he would lean on the English not being so good. But I think...
Sorry, just a complete tangent. Was it Vialli at Chelsea who had that translator who didn't speak Italian?
Yeah.
Right, he was there for about 3 weeks or something before someone tweeted.
Apparently, he didn't know he couldn't speak Italian.
And in the spirit of the footballing world, he of course passed, didn't he? He had cancer. Yes, Chelsea, but a big football character, Gianluca Vialli, and a real shame that he was taken at such a young age in comparison to having a fulfilled life. But look, I think we've got all of the tools in the kit bag to go and get a result at Villa. Now, I'll go around the houses. It remains to be seen if that happens. I'm going to start. My head says a draw. My impassioned heart, desire, wants, because we fucking have to, says maybe a tight 2-1 win. Yeah, I think draw or head draw, emotion win. But Graeme, where do you sit, mate?
I think that a draw probably feels most likely. But again, the same. We kind of need the win. We have to win. We just have to.
Yeah.
I feel like going with 3 games left, I don't want to have to... I don't think we talked about it. You mentioned this already, Richard. I don't want to be thinking about West Ham for the next 4 games. I'd like to get us ahead of them and have them
have a point. Us. Yeah. Because if we can win and they lose, we're a point ahead of them, and then it just becomes a completely different ball game.
And then it's completely in our hands again, isn't it?
Yeah.
We just have to make sure we score more points than West Ham.
Yeah. Richard?
Something we haven't spoken about from the Wolves game is we kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
I think he's probably worked on the defence, and going back to the Kinski thing, I have a little bit more confidence in Kinski now. I don't think we'll concede too many goals. 2-1 sounds about right, but how about this then? We win the game scoring a penalty in the 95th minute.
I don't think I could take it, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Have we still not had a penalty in the league?
No.
Which
not in the league.
I think, look, you can read into some people are always conspiracy against, but the fact of the matter is, under Thomas Frank, we never got into the final third of the box to obtain a penalty.
Yeah, true.
I mean, but yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we will get a penalty. Fingers crossed. Well, nothing more from me. I'm going to the egg-shaped football. I'm leaving here in about 40 minutes. We're going to AFL. Brisbane Lions versus Essendon. Weird 12:30 kickoff, so early kickoff for AFL, and it's not as warm as it was yesterday. So think of me when I'm in the stadium.
I'm off to watch East Coast Bays against North Shore.
Great stuff. Rugby, right?
Rugby, yeah. So I laid out all the pitches for the kids and the youngsters at 6:30 this morning, and we're off up a few miles up the road to see the mongrels play. Yeah, and do you know what? It's a very cathartic, take your mind off of football day, a Saturday, because we very invariably don't play on a Saturday.
Yeah, good stuff.
Spurs, that is, and so it's a blessed relief, actually.
Good stuff, and Graeme, you'll be off to bed, I expect, after maybe an edit. But you've got a few days off ahead of you, right, with work?
Yeah, I've had a nice quiet day today.
Did you get the deck stained, or as New Zealand says, dick stained?
Not yet, but we did go to the garden centre and pick a few bits up today.
There you go. Good stuff.
Yeah. You've got a bank holiday Monday, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got Tuesday off as well.
Fantastic.
I blocked out a few days.
Yeah.
In lieu of losing my holiday to the war in the Gulf.
Yeah, it's the two things. Victoria doesn't get an Anzac public holiday if it falls on a weekend, where a lot of Australia does. We don't get May Day, where Brisbane and other parts, I think, do. But then we get public holidays for a horse race and the eve of essentially the FA Cup final. So I'll take it. We take Sport 1 seriously, apparently.
Because AFL's only popular in bloody...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's something that England could learn from, though. Wouldn't you love the Friday as a public holiday, Graham, before the FA Cup final? That's essentially
FA Cup Eve.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Grand Final Eve here.
FA Cup, yeah. Wow.
Good stuff.
I also like the fact that Scotland has the day after New Year's Day off as well.
Yeah, but that's my birthday. Is it Burns Day? Is that what it is?
No, it's later, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah,
I don't know what
January
it's called, but it's like
yeah,
Scottish Boxing Day or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I am. My grandfather was Scottish, so maybe it's something to do with me. When I was born, they just said, "Oh, we'll just have a day off."
That's it. Officially, it's like it's your second birthday. It's like the monarch's second birthday.
No, indeed. Well, speaking of the monarch, I saw that the US contingent put out some Australian flags, which you shared with me. They were thinking they were British flags. Good stuff.
Nice.
Well, I digress. Well, nothing more from me on the Spurs front. I've got to go and get to the CBD for this other round egg-shaped ball game, and Rich has got to get the rugby. So from me, as always, come on you Spurs.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast to tick off the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And to close us out, as Glenn said, come on you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day, home and away.